Hi everyone. I wanted to make an intro video for week two. I'm just going to walk you through some of the things that we're going to be doing this week, where you can find different assignments, things like that. Because I know that the whole sort of like self-guided online class thing, where you sort of just have to read instructions and figure it out for yourself, that doesn't jive with everyone's learning styles. So this is an optional video, but for those of you who like to hear and see people explain things for you, this may be a good video for you. So we are starting week two today. It's going to be from June 1st to the 7th. You'll see right here, we're going to be finishing writing project one this week. I know there's a bit of confusion about that, but writing project one is not due until this coming Sunday, so you still have some time. And actually, most of the things we'll be doing this week are designed to help you both writing project one and also wrapping up that process. Other things, you have a discussion board post due on Wednesday and on Friday. And then you also have some writing that you'll be turning in on Sunday. So that's important to take note of. You're turning in writing project one on Sunday, but you also have a couple of other pieces of writing due that day. But let's take a look. So to start with, we have an overview of what we'll be doing this week. And we have a tip here. You can check out the Student Success Gallery for good examples of everything you'll be working on. So we have some samples of what writing project one looks like. We have some samples of the pre-writing that you'll be doing. The Student Success Gallery can be found over here, this link on the left side of your screen. All right, task 2.1, we have some readings for you to do this week. A chapter on describing, a chapter on dialogue, and then also designing text. Describing and dialogue are going to be useful to you because you are writing stories. And stories often need to be descriptive and to use a lot of detail in order for them to be good, in order for them to get your reader's attention. Dialogue is also good because it adds a level of complexity to your writing. In real life, we have dialogue. We talk to people, and other people talk to us. So in your stories, it'll make your stories a little bit more interesting if you have scenes in which people are talking to each other. So we have a chapter here about how to use dialogue. Designing the text, I'm having you read this because for writing project one, there's not a specific format that you have to follow. You get to choose sort of what your document looks like, what kind of images you're going to include, how you're going to structure your paragraphs, things like that. So reading this chapter on designing text may assist you with that. For task 2.2, we're going to be doing a little bit more planning of writing project one. I know some of you have already written writing project one, but I would make sure that you do this, not only because you'll get points for it, but by working through these different things, you may decide that your draft of writing project one needs to be tweaked a little bit. So before you decide that you're done with writing project one and that it is set in stone, I would make sure to consider these things. Task 2.3 is just you writing a draft of your paper. Task 2.4, this is a reminder and some notes about designing your text. I would take a look at the samples that are available to you. I would also watch, there's a video in week one where you see how you might include images in a narrative collage. So I'd take a look at that. This is basically saying that you get to choose your spacing. You can choose, font and color of things. You can choose the images that you include, things of that nature. For task 2.5, this is potentially a little bit complicated, so I'm going to spend some time on this. The first part of this, so on Wednesday by 11:59, you need to post your draft to the week 2 discussion board. And in here, I have in bold, it needs to be uploaded as an attachment. So, in other words, don't write your draft into the text box that is there. Write it on a separate document and then upload it to the discussion board. And I've made a video in the past where I show you how to upload things. So you can take a look at that if you need some help. And then here, once you've uploaded the draft, you'll want to make some notes about things that you would like feedback on or things you might be struggling on, because that's going to give your peer, whoever reads your draft, it's going to give them an idea of the kind of feedback that they can give you. Now, on Friday, your job will be to pick one of your classmates, read through their draft, and give them some feedback based on the following things here. So first of all, this first step, you can read anyone's draft that you would like. I would early on in the week claim a draft by replying to whoever wrote the draft. So they'll be uploading their draft. You'll be able to see it, and you'll just reply to their post saying, "Hey, I would like to read your draft." And what that's going to do is not only tell that person who is going to be reading over their paper, it's also letting other people know that you have claimed that person's draft. The goal here is for all of you to receive feedback from at least one person. So we don't want, everyone giving feedback to just one person. Try to give feedback to someone who it looks like they haven't received any feedback yet, or no one has claimed their draft. As you read through the draft, I have some things for you to consider. You can read these on your own. And then step 3, after reading the draft, write comments about it to the writer. Use the questions above as a guide for making your comments. You can type your comments as a reply in the text box. If you would like to upload them as a separate document, that's fine too. And here, just as a reminder, as much as possible, be sure to read the draft of someone whose work hasn't already been read and commented on by someone else. We want to make sure that everyone receives at least one peer review. So those are 2 of your big things that are due this week. You have to make sure that you submit your draft to the discussion board by Wednesday, and by Friday you need to make sure that you give feedback to at least one of your peers. Task 2.6 is revising and editing your work. So once you receive feedback from someone, you should take their feedback into consideration and make any changes that you think are necessary. Now, you are not required at all to make any of the changes that they suggest. That's how peer review works. The people who will be giving you feedback, they are your peers, so their suggestions are just suggestions. They won't be the ones giving you a grade. A lot of people in the class probably have about the same amount of experience as you do as a writer. So they are giving you suggestions based on what they know about the assignment, based on what they know about writing, but it's up to you to decide if you want to take that feedback or not. So that's what task 2.6 is revising your draft. Task 2.7, what this is, you have some things that you need to do here. You should download and read the sample student paper that is available above. This is a different sample than the one we looked at last week. And then you're going to watch a couple of videos here. In this first video, this is a college teacher responding to a draft. And this will give you kind of an idea of the things that I will be looking for and how I interact with students' drafts. And in the second video, you'll see a teacher using the rubric. You can find the rubric under writing projects. You may be able to find it in other parts of our Blackboard site, but I know for sure you can find it under writing projects. And this video will give you a bit of an explanation of how I am going to use the rubric when I grade you. All right, task 2.8. We're calling this taking stock of your work. And what this is essentially is after you have written a draft, received some feedback, and edited and revised your draft, and have an idea of how I will be grading your draft, this is an opportunity for you to reflect on your work. A lot of times, students, will just write a draft the night before it's due. They'll submit it, and then they'll never think about it again. But how we grow, both as people and as writers, is we take time to reflect on the work that we've done. So it's good to set aside some time and to think about the choices that you made, to think about how well you accomplished your goals, and then that way you're setting yourself up to do even better in the future. Now, the last two pages on our weekly module here, the first one is to submit some of the smaller assignments that you did this week. So this is due Sunday, the 7th by 11:59. They'll be worth 10 points. And here, you are submitting all of the writing that you produced for task 2.2 and 2.8. You do not need to submit anything else here. And any writing or notes that you took that aren't related to 2.2 and 2.8, you do not need to upload those. And we have a nice note here. This is not where you don't submit writing project 1 here. There's a separate place for you to submit writing project 1. Okay, and let's go to our last page. Here is where you submit writing project 1. So this is after you have revised your draft, you have it, as perfect as it's going to be, then you will submit your draft. And notice here, you are not to submit any of your other work here. You are just submitting your final draft for writing project 1. All right, I think that should give you a pretty good overview of what we are doing this week. If there's anything that I need to clarify, feel free to reach out to me and I can answer your questions.